Okay, hello everyone. So let's try this mock-up question. So find all users, username is city, who follows everyone that Celine Tran follows. That's the name, right? Celine Tran, yeah. Celine Tran follows. So usually these kinds of problems I like to solve first on the Excel sheet. So I look at Celine Tran. So okay, Celine Tran, who are you? So Celine Tran has user ID of 3. So I go to follows and I say, okay, Celine Tran 3, who are you following? Following 2 and 5. It says, okay, fine. And the question is asking, find all users who follows whatever Celine Tran follows. So, okay, who else is, following 2 and 5? So 1 is following 4, 2 is following 4, 4 is following 2, 5 is following 3 and 8, 6 is following 1, 7, 10, 11, 8 is following 25, like Celine Tran, so I'm going to highlight it here, and 12 is following 5. Okay, and then I say, okay, then who is 8 then? And then I go back to users, and I check, okay, 8 is Ian Goodfellow. Okay, fine, good. Now, the idea of this is so first we already know the answer is Ian Goodfellow. So because we solved it by hand, and before starting the how you call it, before starting the queries, I like to draw whatever I need to do first. So the first thing we did, we looked at users. Remember, we went at users and said, okay, who is Celine Tran? So we went to users and we asked, okay, who is Celine? Who is Celine? And then what we got out of these users, we got the user ID. See, user ID, we got here, user ID, which was 3. And what did we do with the user ID? We went to follows table, and then we said, okay, user ID. I compare it with the follower ID. So we go to the follows table, go to the follows table, and then I say, oh, okay, number 3, I get 2 and 5 as follower ID. So I output here as a follower ID as a 2 and 5, 2 and 5. And then what do I say? Oh, okay, once I find 2 and 5, I said, oh, okay, go back to the follows table. So we already in the follows table, and say, okay, whoever has 2 and 5, give me his follower ID. So this time will be 8. So I say, okay, I have has 2 and 5. We go back to the follows table, and then I output what? This time I found 8. I output 8 as a what? As a follower ID. Follower ID as 8. Oops. Follower. Okay, 8. And then with the 8, what did I do with the 8? I said, okay, go back to users and say, okay, who is 8? It's Ian Goodfellow. Okay. So users, and I put Ian. So we already know the answer, and this is pretty much the process I used before doing the queries, because this tells me, okay, if I input Celine, I output user ID 3 into follows, and then I output again 2 and 5 into follows again, which I output again 8, which I output Ian. So it's input output process. So let's go to the queries, and I say select all from, so we start with users. So let's start with users. So users, and if I click run, I have all this table, but we don't want all this table. We want who? Who do we want? We want Celine. So where username. So username from this table here. See, username is equal to Celine Tran. And if I run it, I have no one because I made a mistake. If I run it again, here, okay, but I don't want all of this information as output. I only want user ID. So I say user ID, instead of selecting all, I say select user ID. And there you go, you have 3. So I have my output, which is 3, in which I want to input into follows table. So to do this, I do this like this. So I start a new query. I do select all from the table I just made right here. I just copy paste everything here into the parentheses, and I call this table T1. So if I run this, I should have exactly the same thing, because all I'm saying is select everything from the table I just made and name it T1. Why do I do this? Is because I want to do the next step. So I say, okay, I want to input 3 into follows. So I say join follows table on what? So remember when we said, okay, 3, compare 3 we had here as user ID with the follower ID here. So this is the step we made. So this is exactly what we have to do. So it's follow, compare with follower ID, right? It's follower. Yeah, follower ID equal to what? From the T1 table we just made, this is the T1 table. So T1 dot, what do you have here? User ID, which we only have one, which is 3. So it should give us this. So how do we interpret this? So the first column here is my T1 table, and my second second and third is my follows table. So why is saying this? Okay, this is matched together. 3 and 3 is always matched together, and I have 2 and 5, which is 2 and 5 here. See? This is the answer. So remember this. Well, I only want 2 and 5. I don't care about the rest of the answers. So I say okay. So instead of saying select everything, I say select followee ID. And there you go. I have 2 and 5. So we already did this part here, and we already did this part here. We already did this part here, and now we have to get this part here, 8. How do we do this? So remember when we had 2 and 5, then we said, oh, okay, 2 and 5, go back to this table and compare everyone else who has 2 and 5. So we checked everything and we said, oh, it's 2 and 5. We have 8. So I input 2 and 5 and I should output 8. So I do exactly the same process as I did before. Do select everything from the table we just did. So I just copy paste everything here, right here, and this time this table, instead of naming T1, is going to be T2. So if I run it, I should have exactly the same thing, because all I'm saying is say, okay, select from the table I just did and name it T2, and then I join it again with the follows table right here. So join follows table. This is a new follows table on. What do I join it on? So remember I had 2 and 5 from my T2 table, and I join it on followee this time. So join on follows dot followee equal to my T2 table. This is my T2 table. T2 table followee ID. So it should give me all of this. Now, how do I interpret this? So my first column is my T2 table. In my second 2 columns here is my follows table that I just joined. How do I know? It's because of the order of this thing. So it says follower ID, followee ID, follower ID, followee ID. So this is how I made sure that this to this is from the follows table, and the first column is from the T2 table. So how do we interpret this? So all it did is just match these two columns. See, just match these two columns. In the middle is the information we want. So let's just group the middle part. As uh, order by follower ID. It's gonna make a little more sense. Follower ID. Okay. So how do we interpret this? Remember when we said it says that okay, whoever follows 2 and 5 is 3 and is 3. So it's true because Celine Tran, remember it was 3, is yeah basically following 2 and 5. So it's just giving us back the answer. And then it says okay, 4 is following 2, okay, and 8 is following 2 and 5, which we want, and 12 is only following 2. So we already have this answer, so we already know it's 8. And we have this incomplete answers, which is 12 and 2. So first, let's think about it, because we know already that if you see how this 3 appears twice in the table and this 8 appears twice in the table, so we already know that the count of the appearance of this follower ID has to match the Celine Tran. So Celine Tran has 2, right? And we see that 8 has Ian has 2 also. And if it doesn't match, doesn't count 2, it's not part of the answer. Let me like do this. It's gonna make a little more sense. So it's just follower ID. I'm just gonna count. And it's gonna make a little more sense. Follower ID, count, and it says order instead of order is grouped by follower ID. So this is saying 3 appears twice in this table, 4 appears once, 12 appears once, and 8 appears only twice. So we already know that 4 and 12 is not good because of the count. So how can we do this? There are many ways. One way I can think of is first of all is create a new table, select from everything we just did, just to make it like everything we just did here. So this is my third table that we're doing. So if I run it, I should have exactly the same thing. See? So what I can do for now, I want to know who is 3, who is 4, who is 12, who is 8. So I can say join users on what user ID user ID is equal to what the follower ID, because it's gonna say okay 3 is gonna match with 3 Celine Tran, and then 4 is gonna match with 4 Sam Jr. So what it's gonna do is just basically just gonna copy paste all this information for just next to it. So it's gonna see 12, and it's gonna copy paste all this information next to it. That's what join does. When you do user ID is equal to this match it to follower ID. But this follower ID is from the T3 table. So it's T3.follower ID. See? So you just copy paste the information next to it. So Yeah, I just thought another way how to do this, but okay. For now, no. For now, we already know if the count is 2, this is our right answer, right? If the count is 2, it's our right answer. It's Ian Goodfellow. And also, our answer is not Celine, so it's not part of it because that's the answer we got in the beginning. So what we can do is says where T3, because T3 is part of this table here, T3 that count is equal to 2. And then is equal to 2. We already know that Celine Tran is that Ian Goodfellow is our answer. And then it says and what else? So we can already eliminate Celine Tran, where username is not equal to Celine Tran. So let's wait a little bit. It's gonna load. Okay, so we already know this is our answer. But you say, oh, but that's cheating because we didn't know the number 2. But yeah, we can know the number 2. So if we the one way we can know number 2 here, because we already know is the 2 comes from Ian. So I just copied this code and I paste it somewhere else. So I try to make if I run it again, I'd say, okay, so where is Ian? Ian is, where's Celine? Celine's here. So it says where Celine, where username is equal to Celine Tran. Fine. Then what do I want from this? I just want the count. So I say and T3. Yeah, I just want the count actually. I just want the count. So yeah, this is the output, and I say I just want the count. So I say t3.count because all I want is just a count. So this is where my 2 comes from. So all this code here outputs 2. So I can just cut this code, paste it underneath the other code, and paste back the code I had before. Right here. So I didn't change anything to the original code. Remember, I just had 2 here. So I just replaced this number 2 with the whole code I just did recently, like the last piece of code that outputted 2. If I run it, and then I have my answer. Instead of having number 2 here, remember, all of this, number 2, instead of having number 2, I replaced it with the code that outputted 2 before. And then it gives me the answer, and I don't want all of this information, all I want is city and username. So I say select username and city. And there you go. That's how you get the answer. So I can re-explain the last part because it might have been confusing. So the last part, remember when it said so you might ask, okay, where does 2 come from? Well, 2 comes from here. Okay. Okay. Where does 2 come from? Okay. So remember when we said, okay, Celine has a count of 2, and whoever has a count of 2 is my answer. Goodfellow. Goodfellow has my count of 2. But and then I said, oh, okay. Then I said, oh, okay. So this could be fixed if I just said remove Celine Tran from the list, and uh, get everyone who has 2. So this could be fixed like this, but this 2 I only knew because I counted myself on the table. But if you want to generate this 2 from the code itself, what I did is just copy all the code here, copy all the code, and made it so it outputted a 2, number 2, and that's how I got the answer. Okay, thank you.